Some roller coasters sit you on top of the track, some sit you below the track, and some don't even really have a track. That's more of just a trough. And since there's so many different coaster models out there, I decided to make a top 10 list of my favorites.
Let's talk about amusement parks, like rides, it rides in the dark. Rides right here, it rides all over, but mostly coasters, mostly coasters. We'll talk about all kind of things, but mostly coasters.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Mario. This is a channel all about amusement park type stuff, but mostly coasters. And in today's top 10 list, we're going to be looking at some of my favorite coaster models. And I don't mean these, although I could do a video like that. But enough blabbering, let's get into the list. Starting off at number 10, we have B&M wing coasters. It's not the most intense coaster type in the world, but what it lacks in intensity, it makes up for in gracefulness. Is that a word? The best aspect of these wing coasters is without a doubt the open seating style. Since you have nothing above or below you, you are just sitting out on the side of the track, and I think that is such a fun and unique way of riding a coaster. And that's not even to mention the very unique near misses that these coasters can pull off. Now, I have only been on one wing coaster, and it was Gatekeeper at Cedar Point. I definitely hope to get on more of these in the future as they show great promise. And I especially want to get on Thunderbird at Holiday World because of that launch at the beginning. That seems so awesome. Moving on, we have the suspended coaster from the defunct manufacturer Aerodynamics. And while these coasters are no longer being made, I think that's really a shame because it is such a fun and unique way to ride a coaster. I mean, just dangling below the track and swinging side to side is not something you see too often. I have been on 3 of these, and to be honest, the Bat at Kings Island is the only one that I really think stands out. But this model type is on this list more so for what it is capable of than what it has done in the past. Although speaking of the past, the original Bat at Kings Island that ended up getting removed after just a couple of years looked absolutely bonkers. The reason this coaster was removed was because there was no banking on the track, which led to a lot of wear and tear. But holy heck, the lack of banking led to some absolutely insane swinging of the ride. And I think it is unfortunate that there will not be any more of these built, because even the current Bat at Kings Island is a fantastic example of how awesome and fun these coasters can be. But next up at number 8, we have B&M inverted coasters. Now, B&M has so many fantastic models of looping coasters to choose from. You have your classic sit-down coaster, your floorless coaster, even stand-up coasters. But my favorite way to ride an intense loop-filled layout is being inverted under the track. I know the primary feature that people consider when thinking about B&M inverts is the positive G-forces and intensity that they deliver, and while I completely agree with that sentiment, this model does offer some good variety. For example, Banshee at Kings Island focuses a little more on being graceful and fun instead of rip your face off intense. And something like Silver Bullet at Knott's Berry Farm is a little more scenic and accessible for less experienced coaster riders. And I appreciate all of the B&M inverted coasters that I've been on from all levels of intensity. Moving on to yet another B&M coaster model. At number 7, we have their Hyper Coaster. And I really enjoy every Hyper Coaster that I've been on from all manufacturers, but B&M specifically always seems to get it right. These coasters deliver a smooth and fun and exciting experience that almost anybody can enjoy. While they are typically very large scale, that doesn't stop them from just being a floaty fun time. Speaking of floating, these without a doubt deliver some of the best floater airtime out there. So if you appreciate the sensation of gently lifting out of your seat as much as I do, then this is bound to be one of your favorite coaster models as well. And while the term hyper coaster is generally used to refer to coasters between 200 and 300 feet in height, the Giga coasters that B&M have built are still considered to be B&M hyper coasters. So not only does this model include all of those fantastic floater airtime machines, but it also includes one of the most incredible roller coasters out there that is full with ejector airtime and intensity, Fury 325. So this model is just mwah. But next up at number 6 is a coaster type that I just started to experience recently, and I would love to see more of them come to the US, Mack launch coasters. And while I have only experienced a couple, they show fantastic promise for what the model can do. Manta at SeaWorld San Diego is definitely on the smaller side, but it still provides big thrills with multiple moments of both ejector airtime and floater airtime, and exhilarating tight turns and whippy transitions. And Copperhead Strike at Carowinds is not too dissimilar, but also throwing in some fantastic world-class inversions in there as well. Both of these coasters also deliver a very comfortable ride experience with no over-the-shoulder restraints, leaving your upper body feeling very open and able to enjoy the full excitement that the ride has to offer. And I obviously can't finish talking about this model without talking about the launches, which definitely are not the most powerful launches out there, but I do think having multiple launches throughout the layout greatly helps with the pacing of the ride instead of having to spend over a minute sitting on a lift hill. I love the coasters that I've been on. The ones that I haven't been on overseas look absolutely phenomenal. So once I get on more, I'm sure this could be way higher up on my list. At number 5 on the list, we have a coaster model that's a little bit newer, and this is RMC's Raptor model. Now their website does just call this a steel coaster, but let's be honest, referring to it as a dinosaur is way cooler. But no matter what you want to call it, these Raptor coasters offer one of the most unique riding experiences, at least for a sit-down coaster, as you straddle the rail in a single file line on a single rail of track. Now I have only been on 2 of these coasters with the same layout, but holy heck, they deliver one of the most out of control and intense coaster experiences you can find. They simultaneously provide some of the strongest airtime, strongest lateral forces, and strongest positive G-forces, all packed into a ride experience that only lasts a little over 30 seconds. Now for me personally, that is the biggest downside of this model type, at least this specific layout, but I would definitely love to check out the larger models in the near future and see how they sway my opinion of this ride type. Next up is another semi-defunct coaster model. Fittingly at number 4, we have 4th dimension coasters from Aerodynamics/S&S Sansei. X2 at Magic Mountain, the only 4th dimension coaster of this style that I have been on, is one of the most brutal ride experiences out there, and that's why I absolutely adore it. Aside from the fact that it is unbelievably intense, you sit on the outside of the track exactly the same as you do on a B&M wing coaster, but of course, what makes this a 4th dimension coaster is the fact that your seats rotate as well. It is just such a surreal, unbelievable experience to be traveling through an airtime hill while your seats are rotating 360 degrees upside down. The biggest downside to this coaster model, unfortunately, is its roughness, but if you've adapted to be able to ride a 4th dimension coaster defensively, you'll enjoy the intensity and excitement as much as I do. I'm also incredibly excited by the prospect of potentially riding the other larger scale 4th dimension coasters out there in the future, which I can only assume are even crazier than the already mental experience of X2. Coming into the top 3, we have our final B&M model, the flying coaster. Ever since riding Tatsu in its opening year, I have been absolutely enamored by this design. I mean, putting you in a flying position, looking straight down at the ground, and doing twists and turns in the sky. I mean, who doesn't want to experience flying? Manta at SeaWorld San Diego is phenomenal as well, taking you lower to the ground, giving you near misses, while Tatsu has you hundreds of feet in the sky. But if you want to see me compare them in a completely arbitrary way to try to decide which is better, I have a video for that. But even the much smaller scale Superman the Ride clones deliver a very fun experience because, again, you're flying. Who doesn't want to fly? Anyone? I'm not seeing any hands. I really can't think of a downside for this model other than the fact that I think there should be more. Next up at number 2 is a model that undoubtedly has some of the best pacing of any coasters out there, Intamin LSM launch coasters. This is kind of a broad category as even Intamin themselves on their website have hydraulic launch coasters lumped in there, but I personally am only thinking about sit-down Intamin coasters that have an LSM launch or multiple. The pacing of these coasters is just unmatched. You look at something like Velocicoaster or Mack Maverick, which are just non-stop balls to the wall, intense, exciting, and invigorating the entire ride. Aside from the launches keeping the pace of the ride flowing nicely, they're also capable of being relatively forceful. And ignoring the launches altogether, these are really designed with some beautiful, and in some cases truly terrifying ride elements. On the tamer side, you have Cheetah Hunt's tree that provides nice airtime going in and out of the element and is very picturesque. And then on the more intense side, you have Velocicoaster's Mosasaurus roll, which feels like it's ejecting you into the water below, all while rapidly and aggressively twisting you upside down and then right side up. And that's just talking about the ones that I've already been on. There are so many great ones out there that I haven't experienced yet and are certainly on the top of my bucket list. And now, before we get to number 1, let's take a quick look at the honorable mentions. First off are a few coasters that just have really unique ride vehicles but don't quite provide an intense or exciting enough experience for me to consider them one of my favorites. I really enjoy spinning coasters of any kind from any manufacturer. Traversing elements while changing the direction you're facing is incredibly fun, and you know what they say, if it spins, I'm ins. Zamperla's Moto Coaster is another really fun way to ride, as you're hunched over in a position that is not too dissimilar from riding a motorcycle. The Swiss Bob by Intamin is arguably the most unique track design of any coaster out there, as you ride a bobsled style vehicle through a water slide looking trough, wildly winding your way down to the bottom of the ride's layout. The SNSL Loco models look absolutely absurd, but I've only been on one, El Loco at the Adventure Dome, and if they all deliver that ride experience, this model is definitely worthy of being on the list, but I think I will have to ride them first before I can truly tell. And now the time has come for number 1. My favorite coaster type is just a little bit basic, RMC iBox hybrid coasters. Now I use the term hybrid lightly to include all RMC iBox conversions from wooden track to steel track. Hybrid is just what they call this model on their website, but rides that I've been on such as Storm Chaser are entirely steel, thus not technically hybrid. But we don't need to get into semantics because I feel like these coasters deliver the best ride experience out there. And the numbers, at least for me, back this up wholeheartedly. I've been on 7 RMC iBox coasters, and 5 of them are in my top 10 coasters of all time. If that doesn't tell you how good I think these rides are, I don't know what does. The list of positives for this coaster goes on and on and on. This style of track is by far the absolute smoothest I have ever experienced. I mean, you don't even feel like you're rolling on coaster track, you just feel like you're floating through air. That smooth track allows you to enjoy the absurd intensity of these coasters, typically in the form of ejector airtime, although this model has recently shown more variety with the forces that it provides, with rides like Iron Gwazi having intense positive G-forces as well. And then there's also some less intense coasters of this model out there like New Texas Giant that provide a lot of floater airtime in addition to the ejector airtime. But not only is this model capable of providing a varied ride experience, it also bends the track in ways that we had never seen prior to this model. The wave turn is a perfect example of this, turning riders at a 90-degree angle before ejecting them out of their seats. The zero-G stall is an inversion like none other. The outer banked turn is a complete game changer. And then you just have entirely unique and ridiculous elements like this step up underflip or this trick track double up. If there is a way for you to feel like you are going to fly out of your seat, RMC iBox hybrid coasters will find a way to do it. And that is why, at least for now, they are my favorite. But that's enough of my thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think about this list and what some of your favorite coaster models are. Go ahead and comment down below. If you guys like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. I will be doing more lists in the near future. And until next time, this is the end of the video.